Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hurdle the Line. I was about to say the wrong podcast then. Hurdle the Line podcast brought to you by the AEW Network. Today is the review show. You are normally used to hearing Chapman's silky southern US twangs. Though they're not really that southern US twang. He's not got that kind of accent. But you're used to hearing that by now. Chapman couldn't be here. He's on illness, so we've had to put him as a healthy scratch. Joining me though, as you will be glad to know, is both Ollie and Tom. Before we get into the football, lads, how are we?
Sweaty palms, nervous, worried that my team's about to hire an OAP, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the night ends.
Is that OAP Jim Schwartz?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm doing good, Fletch. I booked off today because I wanted to stay up and watch the NFC Championship last night, which didn't disappoint. So yeah, I'm doing all right, not bad.
Yeah. Lovely, lovely. So you've gone from potentially having a head coach that was younger than me to having one that's older than me dad. I love it. In the space of like a day, well, a few
Yeah.
days, we've gone from yeah. Um,
Well, Nate's 35, so hopefully we get that one done instead.
yeah. Um, as I mentioned, we'll have plenty of time to get into that over the next few weeks, and all that sort of stuff, and probably over the next few days as a hiring is or is not made. For now, though, we have one game left this season. Starting the weekend, we had 3 games left of the season. Now there is only one because the two championship games have been. This is what we'll be talking about throughout the episode. But first, I think the best thing to do is say that, well, number one, before we get into it, follow us on the AEW network on social media. Join our free to join Discord server, the off-season football. It's all better with friends. You can find all the relevant links and information in the description of this episode. If you are on YouTube, they are right below. It should work out as under Ollie's beautiful face. Um, if you are on, if it's not how it works, then it'll be under Tom's beautiful face or my face. And if you are on audio only platforms, they will be inside the app and inside the episode that you are listening to. First off, though, we've had a couple of head coach hirings, a couple of OC hirings. Start with what was the first one to be? Which one was the first one to be announced this
I
weekend?
think it was the Mike McDaniel one, wasn't it, right?
Is it Mike McDaniel?
Yeah.
Salah.
Well, yeah,
Was
okay,
it
well, yeah,
Salah? Was it Salah first?
Salah was the first initial one, official one.
Ah, okay.
official one. Right, okay, Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh has gone to the Tennessee Titans. After a disastrous time at the Jets, surely it can't be a worse experience for him this time round. Surely. Silence says everything.
Um, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. The
There's
Titans are
not a lot of
terrible,
talent on that roster, to be fair. So it's
but I suppose the Titans, they've at least they've done something in the last decade. So
hmm.
Yeah.
it's not quite the Jets, but
And
yeah,
one thing as well is that I think one thing that wowed the Titans brass, because obviously I know Matt Nagy also he was a finalist for this job or whatever, was that Salah had a development program for Cam Ward, which is obviously something that they wanted to be the face of their franchise. So
Yeah.
you clearly went in there with, and he is sort of that guy that can impress people, and we'll just have to see if he can actually impress when he's coaching the team.
Yeah. Um, what do you reckon he's like? How much do you reckon he's learned from his experience at the Jets? And well, he went to the Jets. They had um
Aaron
oh
Rodgers.
well they went and got Aaron Rodgers, but he was that first year they had Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers for he
Oh
was
no,
first
did
year.
did he
no, it wasn't the first year.
he had
Can't
They
remember
drafted
now.
Zach Wilson.
he had Zach Wilson
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
So you've
So,
gone
so
from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers who tore his Achilles on the first snap of the season.
yeah.
Um
Yeah.
nothing went right for him from the start, and you kind of hope that maybe he gets a little bit of a better run off the ground
Mm.
in Tennessee, and that sets him up. And plus, see, when you go through that first job, when you leave, when you get fired, you can go back, you can reflect. He's gone back to the 49ers. He spent some time with the Packers. You kind of hope for him that he's learned some bits. He's got some more information on how to head coach better, situations a little better. Um, just kind of hope that for him, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was reported that he like is going to be a bit more involved in like the offensive side of the ball as well. Because I think a lot of what happened with the Jets is that obviously he was calling the defensive plays, but he wasn't always, in full command of the offense as well. So I'm sure
Yeah,
he'll get an offensive coordinator. Have they actually hired the offensive coordinator yet for the Titans? I don't think they have.
I think they did today.
Did they?
I can't remember who it is though.
I've
So,
seen.
so not really any valuable information from me.
Um,
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I think they might have, but I don't know what his name is. So,
offense.
Hmm.
I'll Google that in one sec. But don't forget, like I say, Robert Saleh, he went straight once he got sacked by the Jets. He went straight to Green Bay and was the offensive, like an offensive
I
analyst,
mean, I'll be
offensive
completely
assistant.
honest.
So
I'll be completely honest. I think we've already spent enough time talking about Robert Saleh because he's going to be the 49ers defensive coordinator in 2029. Like, let's be real. He's going to be the 49ers defensive coordinator in 2029.
He might be the 49ers head coach in 2020.
Like, if he's not the 49ers defensive coordinator again in 2029, I'll give you both a tenner.
clipping that, Tom, I'm clipping it. I'm definitely clipping that. Anything for free money.
How many years is that? Sorry, 3 years to raise
That's
20
3 years
quid.
away. I mean, I doubt Carl Shanahan gets fired by them, but
3 years to raise 20 quid. Fucking
yeah,
hell.
Listen,
who knows?
I have ADHD. I forget a lot of things. Never forget when someone promises money though, and money's on the table. If I lose, I'll have no idea what's gone on.
Is it? Yeah.
Um, but if there's money owed to me, I'll remember. Excuse me. Also, we've got Mike McCarthy has gone to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was going to say that's
Um,
the funny hire
Yeah.
I
because
mean,
as
your division there. What do you think?
as the Browns fan here, this is everything I want. Like, they fired Mike Tom. Don't get me wrong. I think Mike Tomlin is an amazing head coach. What he has done at the Steelers is, insane, incredible. But sometimes you just get to an expiry date with these guys, and I think you can just be somewhere too long, and you need a fresh voice. And they haven't won a playoff game in what 9 years or what 10 years nearly, whatever it is. Um, and they moved on from. I say fire. They didn't fire him. You know what I mean? He
Yeah,
stepped away.
He
They
decided to
moved
step
on
away,
from
didn't
him, and they had a chance to become a modern NFL team and do what NFL teams have done in the last decades. Because obviously they've been operating like it's 2008 since they won that Super Bowl. They've just been trying to copy that same thing every single year, which, as I said, don't get me wrong, it's resulted in winning 9 and 8 seasons, but that's not really been that inspiring. And obviously, to get to the next step, to get where these other teams are, become a modern NFL team, they had a chance to do that. And they decided to just hire the offensive Mike Tomlin. So they're just a guy that won a Super Bowl, like quite a long time ago, and now has just been riding off that. Has a pretty terrible playoff record in the last decade.
he?
Squeezes out winning season. I mean, I say squeezes out. Mike McCarthy, I think pretty much his last 4 seasons
I was going to say his last
in
three
Dallas had
seasons,
like
he had 13
12
wins, I
wins,
think.
and then always lost in the playoffs, and they were always disappointed in the playoffs, and
Mm.
that's just the offensive version of Mike Tomlin. So I'm happy as a Browns fan because, as I said, they had a chance to go and hire one of these young coaches, someone that could be the next great young head coach. And obviously, if that happens on the Steelers in my division on that team, I'm going to be very annoyed about that. But they hired a guy that, don't get me wrong, it doesn't. Their floor now stays the same, like their floor will be the same, but they've not increased their ceiling in any way with this hire.
And the thing is, as well, they've kind of gone against their trend of what they did up until now of hiring a young defensive coach, basically, because they hired Bill Cowher, then they hired Mike Tomlin, who I think was like 34 or something at the time. Um, so they've gone completely against that, and they've hired a 60 something offensive minded head coach who, as Ollie pointed out there, doesn't have a great postseason record, especially over the last, you know, few years that he's coached. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens with them. But I was kind of a little bit puzzled by the hire. But
Yeah,
good for Mike McCarthy. Um, for the fact that he's a Pittsburgh native and now he's the head
yeah,
coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's that at least.
yeah. That's a nice way to tie it together. I think there. couple of offensive coordinators have been hired as well. I think they're the only two
And there was one
since
more
Thursday.
head coach as well, because I don't think we talked about it, was Jesse Minter.
Oh,
I think
yes, I forgot
did we
about
not
that
talk
one.
about that last?
No,
No,
no.
I
But
think to be fair,
funny
we
that
just missed Thursday's episode as well.
they oh no, yeah, of course, because I think he cancelled the second interview with the Browns on the Friday, I think. Um, which shout out to him for that not getting leaked like these other ones have. But no, he it is funny that obviously they fired Harbaugh and then they've just gone and hired someone from his brother's coaching tree, which is obviously quite funny. But I think it's a good hire. I think he was
Eddie.
um one of the better candidates, out there this year. This is a good young defensive minded rather than offensive minded guy, and we've
Yeah,
just all seen what McDonald's done in Seattle and what he's doing in Seattle. Just got them to a Super Bowl. Not saying he's going to be that, but this is a one of those kind of hires that you kind of have that idea of. So yeah, good hire from them. Don't get me wrong. I think that I don't know. Maybe they could have done better. You have Lamar Jackson as your
Mm.
quarterback. Like I don't know. Maybe you could have gone and got anyone. I suppose, but um, I think I think most Ravens fans will be happy with it. But I think there will be some that might be like, as I just said, we've got Lamar. Like why couldn't we? Why could we not have got anyone that we wanted?
Yeah, true, true. But when you think about it like that, you kind of would want an offensive guy that can,
Yeah.
again, develop Lamar Jackson more than he even is already
And
developed.
and we all sorry to interrupt you, Tom, but we
Mm.
all saw what's happened. Part of the problem in Baltimore. I mean, how many times they've changed that offense? What 3-4 times since Lamar's
Mm.
been there because the head coach was a special teams guy that lent more defense. And when you do have that with paired with a superstar quarterback, you're always going to lose the offensive coordinator just by nature of the quarterback. So yeah, obviously personal preference from me. I would, if I've got a quarterback like that, I would like to pair them with an offensive guy. But as I said, he was one of the better head coach candidates this year. So I don't think you could be that. It's not fucking Mike McCarthy. Sorry for
No,
my.
and he's
Yeah,
and also he's got familiarity with, he's been in Baltimore before. I think he was the defensive
yeah, he was. Yeah, he
coordinator
was
for
on that
like a
start.
couple of
Yeah,
years and stuff as well. So he kind of understands what's going on in that building. And from what was reported anyway, he's got a good relationship with Lamar Jackson, which it seems like towards the end of John Harbaugh's run, that relationship was deteriorating. So yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think it's a good hire overall.
yeah. Well, he was the defensive assistant
Defensive
DB's
assistant.
coach, and
yeah,
just
yeah.
DB's coach before going to Vandy, and then winning a national championship with the Michigan, and then going over to the Los Angeles Chargers. Sorry, I just couldn't read that quite properly. Before moving on to the LA Chargers with Jim Harbaugh when they left for the Chargers, and then. I like it, and I think it sometimes it depends on who's the offensive coordinator he's going to bring in. How much is he going to allow the offensive coordinator to kind of flourish as the offensive guy and really lead the offense, or whether how much he's going to oversee that. So I think it's an excellent point. It's something we see too often is defensive-minded head coaches kind of having someone like a Lamar Jackson per se, and not necessarily being able to get the best out of him. But like I say, you've got to learn from those guys and let the offensive guy do
And
what he needs to do with him.
and and what two teams in the Super Bowl? What are their head coaches? Defensive guys. So
Mm.
the defensive. Someone like me that's more leans towards the offensive side, and that's my philosophy. I'm certainly getting dunked on by people with this Super Bowl matchup with two
Yeah.
with two. I mean, McDonald's is different though because he's like
Mm.
he's like the McVay of defense.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and as someone that I had to watch, I had to deal with this guy's defense in division when he was the defensive coordinator as Baltimore.
The
I said
Ravens,
to you,
yeah.
Tom, when they made the hire,
Mm.
this he's going to be
Mm.
fantastic. I knew he was going to be fantastic because he's an incredible defensive
The
mind.
Ravens should have never let him leave the building, but
Oh, just
that's
yeah.
another
Oh,
that's
if
another.
you're a Ravens fan, you are so. I mean, and that's what I mean. That's when if it's McDonald, then yeah,
Mm.
screw the offensive guy.
Mm.
Make him the
Yeah,
head coach because he is that
Yeah,
good.
100%.
yeah. Couple of us that went in the way of offensive coordinators. We'll fly through Bobby Slowick, so to the Miami Dolphins. Let's say to the Miami Dolphins. He was there as the passing game coordinator last year. Jeff Hafley's come in, hired as head coach, and he's promoted Bobby Slowick from within. Obviously, previously the Texans OC up until 2000, the 2024 season. Eric Bieniemy is back at the Chiefs, Tom.
Yes.
Glad to see this one again.
Yeah, me and I had a good discussion about this on the chat, and we agree about it in some senses that it's not the most inspiring hire, especially bringing someone in from the Andy Reid coaching tree. The one thing I do like about it is that I think the Chiefs have lacked accountability, especially this season, and over the last season and a half sort of thing, someone to actually get on them and not just coast through games. And if there's one thing that Eric Bieniemy's going to do, is he's going to get on those players, whether it's to wide receivers or he was the running backs coach for the Chicago Bears this year, and they had a very productive backfield. So hopefully the Chiefs can actually pick up a running back in the draft and make their team so it's actually a bit more fundamentally sound.
Yeah,
But I'm kind of I like the higher-ish, but then at the same time, it is just kind of feeding into Andy Reid's philosophy. And I said to Ollie about this that Andy Reid's probably going to die on the hill of what he's coaching, but we'll just have to wait and see.
yeah. I've seen it all too recently. A head coach who has a philosophy, they have a way of doing things, and you're going to get people in who buy into that philosophy. If you go down with it, you go down with it. It is what it is, and you kind of respect it in one sense. As a fan, it's probably very annoying. It is very
Yeah.
annoying, but I think from the outside, you kind of fair enough. The
Just thank God Matt Nagy has left the building, to be honest.
Yes, how he's getting head coaching interviews even
I have
like
no idea.
no idea.
The main reason he got the Titans head coaching interview, I think, is because of Mike Bogonzi, who was with the Chiefs for
Yeah.
17 years and
The,
then is
the,
now the GM of the Titans as well.
yeah,
But
in the end of the day, half the league just hires their mates. Like,
yeah,
look what
yeah.
look what Miami did. I mean, Miami is partly why I think that's going to be an absolute disaster
Mm,
because they just brought in the Packers guy that just went, "All right, cool, go hire my mate." Just went and hired his mate from the Packers to be the head
mm,
coach, and just everything that he's done is just like, "All
yeah.
right, let me just go hire all my boys," and it's like that never works because then you just bring a load of yes men. You bring a load of people that are going to just go, yes, yeah, yeah, and you're never going to be, you know what I mean? And the best
Yeah.
teams are the teams that can build great staffs, and that's what Sean McVay has done
Mm,
so well. That's what that's what the best coaches do, and that's what I mean. That's something
Yeah.
why Bill Belichick was you know, it's weird to say this, but like if it wasn't for Bill Belichick, then these kind of guys that you just, Andy Reid philosophy, you just talked about as you said, Fletch with your team stuck in their ways, they would never get hired again because Bill
mm.
Belichick, if you think about it, his coaching. I mean, Josh McDaniel is the best thing to come out of the Bill Belichick coaching thing, and
Coaching
he's
tree,
one of the
yeah.
worst. And he's one of the worst head coach. He can't become a head coach. He's a great coordinator, but these guys that are set in their ways, their staff never go on and become great.
Mm,
Yeah.
Great head coaches and stuff like this because they're
yeah.
they're so restricted. Whereas a guy like Sean McVay, look at all the guys that have come from him the last few years. Zach Taylor, KOC, Liam Cohen, maybe Nate Shields. Hopefully Nate Shields, please Nate Shields. These kind of guys. So yeah, I
Yeah.
just feel like when you get set in your ways, you just completely narrow your philosophy in that way.
I think
And you're right as well in the sense of, and it can come back to bite you as well. I mean, look at the Bills and look at what was it, Sean McDermott, right? He brought Brandon Bean into the building because he was like, oh, this is, my mate, this is what we're gonna do. And then he gets backstabbed by him. So like it can
Oh,
come back to bite you as
the
well.
Brandon Beans that is pathetic. I mean,
Yeah.
the owner coming out and basically saying, no, it wasn't the GM's fault that we drafted. They're basically thrown Keon Coleman under the bus.
Yeah, who
They
wants to
threw
leave now
Sean
anyway?
Sean
I'm not
they,
McDermott.
surprised.
they threw Sean McDermott over the bus, right? And I know the owner's old, and I'm not sure what he's actually up to date with in terms of the real world, but phones exist, cameras
Mm,
exists, microphones exists.
yeah.
They literally in their own draft footage from when they
Yeah.
drafted Keon Coleman exposes that entire claim
Yeah.
with Brandon Bean all over that doc going, oh, I
Mm.
need Keon Coleman. I need Keon Coleman. What did he run? Oh, that's great because that means we can get Keon Coleman. He clearly was the one that spearheaded it.
Yeah.
And the owner just went out there and threw it on
And he
McDermott,
was
threw
like,
it on.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
I'll answer that question.
that's a, and
That wasn't Brandon's pick.
and
Oh,
can I just say
Yeah.
to get one more out of this rant that just and that proves my point to what I have. The point that I've always had that, and I've said this to you, Tom. Every owner in the NFL sucks. I don't
Yeah.
want to hear this good owner stuff. This, oh no, my team's good because we've got a good owner. And like, I love you, Chapman, but Arthur Blank is a great person, amazing human being. That doesn't mean you're a good NFL owner. That doesn't mean you're a good head coach. Look at the playoff success. Other than that one, so every owner sucks, in my opinion. They just get lucky. Look, the Bills have been one of the best teams in the AFC. Their owners clearly sucks. I mean, we've just seen it. So I've always said this to Tom, and I'm just happy that now they're putting microphones in front of these guys because it just furthers my point that there's no such thing as a good owner. None of these billionaires have any idea what they're doing.
No.
So some of them just get lucky, and the best ones are the ones that stay away, and that's why they become the better teams because they got the less involvement on it. Sorry, rant over. Just had to get that one out there.
All I want to say is one, I disagree, but that's a conversation for another day. When I was talking about teams that are stuck in the ways, I was talking about currently watching Manchester City, not the Detroit Lions. Pep Guardiola won't leave his system. It's not working. It is what it is.
Yeah, I completely get that. That's exactly what I meant as well.
The one other thing I was going to mention was, again, experience of the Belichick tree, and then you hire your mates. You have Jim Caldwell, who's had three winning seasons out of four at the Detroit Lions. That never fucking happens. He comes in, sacks him, and hires. I don't want to say his name. You can say his name, Ollie. He's your defensive coordinator in college. Hires that sack of shite, and then it all goes downhill from there. So it's absolute point. I think there's a case with some of these older head coaches who have. You look at Sean McVay. I'll throw Dan Campbell in this conversation to an extent because Ben Johnson's gone one way and done really, really well. And some of these coaches, they have a collaborative process throughout the whole thing. Head coach decisions involve the OC, or they involve the quarterback coach, they involve the running back coach. The whole system's integrated and works together. You always see these old head coaches, either the head coach has this role, the OC does that. Yeah, they work together, but you do that and then you do that. And the process goes down. So you're not potentially really learning from Bill, but you're not getting that same understanding of the system. You see the system, try to copy the system rather than being part of that system. If that makes sense.
You're learning the Patriot way, right?
Yeah.
And this will get when we get into the games in a minute. This will be my final rant when we get onto that. But and it's like the Patriot way and all of this stuff. No, it's the we became the luckiest team in NFL history by drafting Tom Brady in the 6th rounds. And Tom Brady basically and people can say what they want. We've all seen what Tom Brady's done without Bill Belichick and what Bill Belichick's done without Tom Brady. And it's this whole, it's this whole thing. And it's this one guy that became so because he thought that he was the sole purpose for the success and instead of the other way around in the collaborative effort and that's why you become so set in your ways. And that's why when you're winning Super Bowls, it becomes even worse because you've got the justification to do it, but then you do have the justification to do it because you're winning Super Bowls. So that's the only time where you can get away with it. But yeah, I think it's a great point and a great discussion. And I suppose that should lead us into that Patriots game, which if Tom, I'm sure Tom will want to talk about the actual game itself. Maybe I don't know if anyone wants to talk about the actual game itself. But I've got 2 rants from this. But before I get into my rants, you guys go first.
I'll say the one we've not mentioned, and you can have 30 seconds on it. Mike McDaniel to the Chargers, great hire.
I just said no more rants. The guy cancelled interviews for head coaching jobs. Agreed in principle to take this job, then actually went, oh no, I'm going to do an interview with the Bills for their head coaching job actually as well, even though I've apparently agreed to this job. Then he cancelled that one, and now he's finally agreed to the. I don't know what on earth's been going on with Mike McDaniel, what he's been smoking this offseason, but I don't know if he knows what he's doing, but I'm glad he's finally made his mind up.
Yeah. Tom, good hire, bad hire? What do you think?
I find it a confusing hire. I find it a confusing hire because it's like his philosophy and Jim Harbaugh's philosophy are different. Like they're just totally different in the way that they
are they though
operate.
Because Mike McDaniel's one of the best run schemers in the NFL, in my opinion. And
yeah, but he wants to run like an offensive run scheme, whereas like Jim Harbaugh wants to like just grind the ball and play defense, right?
Yeah, but that's why I think it'll work well because
Mm.
you can merge that philosophy of Jim Harbaugh like wanting to run the ball. He's going to give Mike McDaniel I think he'll give him full reins for that run game.
Mm.
Obviously, that's part of the reason I think Harbaugh wanted him, because obviously we know not many coaches are going to be more inclined to run the ball than him. And
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's part of the reason why why I floated him as the idea for the Browns. That's one of the biggest things I said was I think he's one of the best run schemers in the NFL. So I do think it's a good hire. I think that will be good for them, and I think I'll be surprised if we're not talking about Mike McDaniel for a head coaching job next year in the next cycle. I think it will be a good hire.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So we're
If
happy with
they
that.
if their whole team doesn't get injured again like they did this
Yes.
year.
What you mean if both their starting tackles don't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
like
yeah. I was going to
injured
say,
like
for that run
straight
game
off
to work, he's
the
going to need those starting tackles.
No worries. Right, so let's get straight onto the games. I know we're time barred by some bits. We want to get straight into it. Start with the first game that happened yesterday. That was the Patriots taking on the Denver Broncos. Going into the game, the Patriots were 0-4 at Mile High in the playoffs. But they went on and faced Jarrett Stidham instead of Bo Nix. Not to say that yet again they have an easy run,
But
can't
they
face the
do.
team, but
But they do.
they go and it doesn't help the case.
You can't
Um,
say not to say they don't because they've had maybe the easiest run to the Super Bowl we've ever seen.
yeah,
I mean, I saw someone tweet on Twitter. I don't know if they were rage baiting or not, and it was like this is the toughest run to a Super Bowl from any quarterback, and it was like number 5 defense, number 3 defense, number 1 defense, and it's like yeah, but you were only playing the defense. Like, you weren't playing those teams' offenses in the Texans game. The Texans offense was playing for you. They were on your side. They were on
Yeah.
your team. CJ Stroud was on your team for that game. You played Jarrett Stidham in this game, and who did they play in the first game? I can't remember now.
it was the Chargers.
The
And
Chargers
it was the Chargers who
and
literally, as
Justin
we just
Herbert,
said,
who's terrible in the playoffs. So yeah,
their
it was like,
entire team was injured, and Justin Herbert didn't have his entire offensive line. So, in a vacuum, you can say, yes, they went up against these great defense, but they played zero offenses.
yeah,
They played a team that had no offensive line, and half the roster was injured. They played a team where CJ Stroud put up one of the worst playoff performances we've ever seen,
yeah.
especially in recent memory. And then you go and play Jarrett Stidham, who, don't get me wrong, I mean, it is what it is.
Mm,
You don't expect more from Jarrett Stidham. Like
no,
at the end of the day, he's not played a game in 2 years. And after that first bomb, that 51-yard bomb, whatever it was, it was like, okay, maybe this might
great
work.
throw
And
to be
then
fair.
nothing kind of shows you what the experience. And then the first completion was the 51-yard bomb, and then the final
Yeah.
pass was just one of the worst interceptions I've ever. You just completely duck throwed it into a double coverage where Christian Gonzalez, one of the best corners in the league, was. Yeah, just a hilarious game that, by the way,
Do you
got
want to know
ruined.
what his stat line was in the second half, Ollie?
Well, I mean, do you want to know what the whole
He threw
I
both
know
for
it.
teams?
10 passing
Yep.
yards and an interception in the second
I,
half.
Yep.
I can imagine both teams' stats in the second half was pretty bad because we all saw how the weather. I mean,
It was like a snowstorm, yeah.
if you do a
Blizzard.
screenshot of when this game started and then a screenshot of when this game ended, which is brings me on to my 26th rant, which is the whole football weather stuff that obviously I've dealt with this the last couple of seasons with the Browns securing their move to Brook Park and building a dome and all of that stuff. You play in a dome, Fletch, so I don't know if you want to contribute into this conversation. Tom, you play for one of those cold, you've had snow games, etc. I don't know if you want to throw into this conversation, but this is why you build a dome, like an AFC championship game. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was Jarrett Stidham, so maybe you can make an argument it was going to be this way regardless. But this game just got ruined, completely ruined.
Mm.
But basically, in the second half, as soon as the Patriots scored that field goal, it's like, well, that's it. I think that is actually probably enough because
Mm.
neither team is going to score in this.
Well,
I
you could see each team their game plans all just both went
And
completely out the window. That there
yeah.
was no game plan. They were just like,
I,
okay, we're gonna run the ball and see if we can get a little bit further so we can punt. Like that's literally
I
what it
think
and I
was.
say that, sorry, Fletch, you go ahead.
Oh, so no, I was gonna say I have a point on the Jarrett Stidham in the second half that
Mm.
does tie into that, which I want to get onto in a second. So, but no, finish this point and then I can get onto that.
But yeah, and like in a vacuum, you can say, well, it's Jarrett Stidham and it's this, the Broncos offense isn't exactly, the greatest show on turf. But I just mean overall, like this could have been anyone. This could have been Chiefs. This could have been whatever Chiefs, Bills, whatever team you want to
Mm,
put in this
mm.
example that just got completely ruined. That the game got ruined because it was played outside in a snowstorm. And like,
Mm.
yes, it's amazing if your team win these games and you get that feeling of your players are doing snow angels in the snow after winning and all of that. I had that feeling with the Browns Steelers snow game last year,
I was going to say
and
that's the one that it made me think of,
and it
Ollie.
feels
Yeah,
great
yeah.
and all of this stuff. But in the end of the day, it just ruined the game. And as a neutral, I don't want to see the AFC Championship game just get ruined because it snowed. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I am, just to put it, I am 100% team dome. If your team wants to build a dome, go and build a dome, because I don't want to see, the more domes the better. I don't want to see AFC Championship games get ruined. And people can say that I'm a whatever um, word that they use to describe a female's parts. They can call me that all they want. I'm not an NFL player. I'm watching from the comfort of the warm of my
Mm.
house, mate. So I don't care regardless. But as,
I,
as a neutral, I'm not just watching it in my house warm. I'm watching it across the
Mm.
Atlantic Ocean in my house
Yeah.
warm. By the way, so and I just don't want to see a game ruined, especially a championship game.
yeah, I think you missed a perfect ironic. You could have set that up to call yourself a snowflake, and it would have been the perfect like best
Oh
irony
yeah, that'd have been
little
great.
setup you
Yeah,
could have done.
damn it,
But we've missed that
damn it.
opportunity. But
Why did you have to say? I'm gonna be annoyed. I'm gonna be thinking about that when I go to bed now.
um, but no, it was, and the halftime is when it really started throwing it down quite a bit more. It wasn't as bad in the first half. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong; it was not a pretty first half. Patriots only just get the chance to go in level because of the fumble right at the end of the
Oh
first half,
man.
and it put the what was it, 21 yards
Don't even
out.
get me started on some of these calls for the Patriots in this game, man. Like it was just
That
like
was
it just felt like they were destined to go to the Super Bowl with some of this. Like, yeah, they were like, oh, okay, so that was a backwards pass, but then they screwed it up on the call because it should have been blown dead, but then it wasn't blown dead, but then they allowed like all the it was just like a complete disaster from the officials. Like, yeah, it should have if it went backwards, then yeah, the Patriots should get the ball. But as Dean Blandino on the call said, they just completely mucked it up when they were doing
yeah,
it anyway. And then it also happened on the same thing later in the game when they had that weird tush push that didn't work. It did not look to the naked eye like Drake May got the line to gain, but they gave him a first down, but then it wasn't enough to overturn it because you had Ramondre Stevenson, like not even he wasn't even pushing Drake May. He was like on top of him, so you couldn't see the line.
yeah,
And then they give him the first down, and then the rest is history. But I wanted to go back earlier in this game when it was 7-0. The Broncos' decision to go for it instead of kicking a field goal to go up 10-0 is what came back to bite them in the end. Obviously, not knowing
yeah,
that there was going to be a snowstorm and all that sort of stuff. But I just thought that was a very aggressive play call from Sean Payton, and I understand him going for it, wanting to go up 14-0 because you feel like the game would have been over at that point, especially with the way that the Broncos played defense in this game. They were incredible. Um, but that came back to bite them. And then, I mean, there was multiple missed field goals. I do agree with Ollie. I mean, the snow it sucked in terms of like this is one of the worst AFC Championship games I've ever seen, and I've seen some great ones, obviously, as a Chiefs fan. So I can't doubt that. But yeah, it was great on the eye in terms of like, oh, look at the snow. But then the
pretty.
actual game itself, it just ruined what could have been an interesting game, but didn't look like it was going to be an interesting game anyway.
Yeah, I do. You reckon though that I know the missed field goals came in later in the
Mm,
game. The
yeah,
first missed field goal was what? It was drives after, 3 drives after the missed field goal for the Broncos. Do
yeah,
you think though you see the elements as they're going?
yeah.
Do you reckon that plays your part in it and just they go for it in the end anyway? You kind of learn that
Mm,
lesson. Well, we tried to go for it on fourth down. we're not going to try that. We're not probably going to do that again. But you've got to
Yeah.
think though that the elements play somewhat of a part and go, maybe we just try and skip this field goal
Mm,
this time. And like as much as I'm somewhat with you on the sense of like it's a very aggressive call. It's in the
mm,
you're midway, barely even midway through the second quarter. But also like what was the decision? Was it the elements are too much? It's only 4th and 1 or whatever. I
mm.
can't remember what downage it was. Um, but just I'm just trying to think what goes on in there in that decision. But yeah,
And
like
the thing that won this game really above anything else was not, it wasn't like I mean, the Patriots offensive line got bullied by the Broncos on D line flat out. But Drake May having those timely scrambles, especially that last one as well, they got a 3-point lead and then he fakes it to like it's supposed to be a run play, but then he fakes out of the run play, and then he runs for the first down to ice it.
yeah,
I thought his legs were a massive part of this guy. I think he had
yeah,
65 rushing yards in total. And that's what ended up went being the
yes,
deciding factor in this game.
yeah,
Yeah,
six.
Will Campbell got exposed a little bit
Oh,
in
he
this
just
game.
got beaten every single
He
time. But that's what I'm
he
saying. The
got
D line
he
for the
got
Broncos dominated.
he did get cooked.
Yeah.
And it does make me like. Don't get me, I mean, they're in the Super Bowl. Like, I have no place to say anything. If you're a Patriots fan listening to anything I say about the Patriots in this episode, don't take any of it because I'm a Browns fan and you're in the Super Bowl and you've won 6 Super Bowls, so you shouldn't listen to me for anything. But I do think as someone that was so high on Membu, I do think they're going to be looking at that in the next couple of years. Like
Yeah. Uh,
could have had Membu,
I mean,
but they're in the
yeah.
Super Bowl, so who cares?
Okay, but I would say the only point I really wanted to make there, as I alluded to before, was that when it hits half time and the Patriots are, let's face it, very lucky to be tying at that point. Um, the offense was uninspired. I
Yeah.
put out a stat that was at half time, Jarrett Stidham had 123 yards passing, which is why I knew that he only had 10 in the second half because he has 133 overall. And the Patriots had 72 yards of offense. Right. So
I mean,
Jarrett Stidham had almost double the Patriots'
Drake May
entire
had
offensive yards.
80 yards, 86
he had
yards in this game.
86 passing yards.
Yeah.
I think he's got like 400 yards in 3 playoff games. Like I said it last week. Like he's not been great by any means, but I'm saying this as Drake May, one of Drake May's number one stands. He's the reason they're in the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is not just a blowout. You got to get, it's a whole 17 game season that gets you to that. And he was, one of the best players, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But he's not exactly been like
No,
amazing
yeah, he's
in the
had six
No.
playoffs.
fumbles and like 3 interceptions in like 3 games.
I think he's
But
been
but
sacked 15 times. Like he's
15
averaging 5
times.
sacks a game.
Yeah.
but
And
can I throw this out there and say I'm going to make what one cut off to college and say that I never felt like that about Mendoza throughout the college football playoff run. I always felt the team was amazing elsewhere. Don't get me wrong, and it's not a shot at
no,
Mendoza.
yeah.
You put them in the position where Drake May's put in
He,
that position where he has to do what he needs to do, and that's it. Don't go rocking the boat. Don't go doing too much. Do
Yeah,
what you need to do.
I agree,
Look,
but
keep going.
Mendoza didn't put up 10 completions for 86 yards.
yeah.
No,
Do
I
you know what I
know,
mean? I
but
get it.
no, I
It's in a
know, but like,
snowstorm, but like, no, I completely agree. And like, don't get me wrong. I'm not. This isn't me piling on. Anyone that's listened to this podcast will know I'm a massive Drake May fan. And if you want one more rant out of me, I will just do a quick 10-second. Like, this whole the rebuild and they went from a 3-14 team. This is what good. No, I'm not. I can say this to so many teams. No, you did. You just sucked, and then you lucked into Drake May falling into your lap with the third pick because the Commanders for some reason decided to take Jaden Daniels ahead of Drake May. And you just had the third pick in one of the best drafts in the last 20 years to have the third pick in. Like that's the reason
Mm,
they're in the Super
mm,
Bowl.
yeah,
Like there's yes, other things contribute to that, but if that doesn't happen, you're not in the Super Bowl right now.
yeah.
So
yeah,
it just annoys me that narrative, like, and
yeah,
that kind of flows into my own thing I said earlier. So much in the NFL is luck,
And one
yeah.
other
and it's
thing
what
as
you do with that
well,
luck.
just
And
to kind of
coaching.
put a button on this game because we talked enough about this game to be honest. But I thought it was really, really good with when Drake May did make a scramble. I think there was like little time left on the clock. And then Mike Vrabel was right there to call timeout. Like that's one thing that the Patriots have been all season is disciplined
Yes.
um, with the calls, with calling timeouts, with just the operation. So that was something that I was really just impressed me really, and that's something that Mike Vrabel has brought to the table for
Yeah.
sure.
I'll say sorry. Just the one point I wanted to finish was just
Yeah,
when the snow hits at halftime and the playbook went out the window. Jarrett Stidham kind of went out the game a little bit, and
yeah.
no one was expecting him to light it up. No one was expecting an elite performance. You were probably expecting the run game to pick up a little bit for them, where they've lost in Bo Nix and some of the coaching. But what I felt was like as soon as the snow happened, you knew the difference between a Jarrett Stidham and a Drake May, and the way
Mm,
that offense had to run, in the sense that the Patriots just had that bit more, and were able to run that offense a bit better because Drake May is more locked in for and game ready and able to do just that bit more than Jarrett Stidham was. And I kind of felt like that was once the weather played a part. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
felt
yeah.
like the
and I
Patriots were in a better position to take
He,
advantage of the shit situation.
yeah, and when he was called upon to win the game, he won the game. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And the Broncos, just one more thing is that they had 17 rush attempts in the first half and only seven in the second half. So they just went away from the run game when they
yeah.
were actually they had like a 50% success rate or something with the run game in the first half. So
well,
like they abandoned the run and then that forces Jared Stidham to try and be
and
Superman, who he isn't anyway. So
that's
that
one of the
didn't help
wor
them.
one of the worst things you can do in the snow.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Especially
yeah,
because
yeah.
I mean the amount of times I was watching Jared, he was slipping all over the place.
Mm, mm,
Catches were being dropped.
yeah.
But what I will say as well, like one thing I noticed very early on was you look at the deep shot, you look at the touchdown on both of them. Christian Gonzalez gets cooked on both of those routes, right?
Mm, mm.
And okay, if I know my defensive what they were trying to do there, and I can try. I think Christian Gonzalez got cooked. I think they saw that early on because he's coming back from injury and all that sort of stuff. I think they tried it, and now Christian Gonzalez coming back from injury, you can cook him once. You might be able to just about get him twice. You're not going to cook him all game, and I think they tried too hard to force that. Christian
Yeah, well,
Gonzalez
and
is not having a
and
great.
and Ollie, as Ollie pointed out, it's one of the worst interceptions you'll see. I mean, it was
Yeah,
no way near the receiver. It was right into Christian Gonzalez's lap.
I mean,
Um,
the only grace you could even slightly give him there is that he did not see the two Patriots guys because it was snowing and they were wearing white.
mm,
Like
mm,
that's
mm.
the
yeah,
only explanation. Because I just don't understand why you throw that ball. I mean, that was just it was so bad.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Moving on though, I say we're sick and tired of talking about this. I'm not gonna I'm gonna let Tom. You can enjoy the fact that the Broncos lost. I'm sure you can, but we don't want to keep talking about that. The Patriots are in the Super Bowl, and what came up was about who would they face, and it would be a Super Bowl rematch. We can have one of the most boring offensively Super Bowls that we've ever had, or we can have what feels like a personal full circle moment for me. The first Super Bowl I ever watched the whole way through was the Patriots and the Seahawks all them years ago. It was all about who that was going to come down to, and
What a Super Bowl!
what a game we had. Uh,
Incredible game.
both teams wanted it. Neither team was willing to give up. And even when, like, at one point, I think for a good chunk of it, you had no idea who was going to walk away with
Mm.
this.
But
Well, I was
both
going to
quarterbacks
say,
went God
even in
mode.
the first half was better than the whole of the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
literally,
I think the
because I
first.
was chatting to my mate while I was watching it, and he's a Seahawks fan, and I was like, literally, this one half, or even like a couple of the drives, were just better
I
than the
think the
whole of
first
that game.
series was better than
Literally,
first series. It was like, yep, all right. I've had more fun during that than I did that whole AFC Championship game.
literally.
Um, but I say you start off and both teams went. Was it 3-and-out that they went on? I'll get the possessions back up.
No,
No.
so
Oh yeah, yeah.
the
Seahawks
Rams
had a few
went three
extra
and
points.
out, and then the Seahawks had that great opening drive.
Yes, yes, they did because it was anything that Jarrett Stidham can do, I can do better. And Sam Darnold
A
walks out,
bomb to Rashid
launches it up to
Shaheed.
Shaheed.
Yeah, just launched it down the field. And then they get the touchdown with Kenneth Walker, I think it is, right?
It was Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, who rushed in, he started the game really well as well. Like he was running the ball really well. Um, it, it was just a great game to watch, to be honest. Like it was always, I felt like it was always going to be this type of game, but I was just, yeah, I was watching it and I was just like, these are the two best teams in the NFC. Like these are the
Yeah.
two best teams in the
The
NFC.
two best teams in the NFL.
They're the two best teams, and this is I was like, again, I was chatting to my mate, and I was like, can we just get like a three-game series of this for the Super Bowl? Like
Yeah,
that's
this
what
was
we
the Super
want,
Bowl.
you know? Like
This was the
this
Super
felt like
Bowl.
it was the Super Bowl, to be
And
honest.
with what's come out of the AFC, and obviously, I mean, don't get me wrong, Patriots have got a chance to go and prove everyone wrong. But
Mm.
with how the AFC playoffs had gone, I think everyone expected that this kind of is the Super Bowl. Winner of this game probably goes on to win the Super Bowl. Um, as we just said, the two best teams in the NFL, in my opinion. I think I said that last week. We all agreed on that last week that this is the two best teams in the NFL. That's why we were so excited for this game. And, two division teams that have played each other twice. In the back of my mind, I thought, because both games have been good this year, it's two division teams. Now it's the NFC Championship game. I thought it's a recipe for it's going to be a 10-7 game, like the AFC
Mm.
Championship was. I thought this has a recipe to be a really boring game, but no, it delivered as it always does. Um, as you've all said, I mean, how exciting this game was. Both quarterbacks went God mode in this
Yeah,
game.
literally.
This is one of those games. I said this during the season. I can't remember what game it was, but every time I watch one of these games, I'm just sat there as a Browns fan, and I'm just like, just one day, man. Like I've never seen, like, is this the same sport? Like is this really the same sport that I've been watching the last however long? And it's just that's what having one of these guys does. That's what having a Hall of Famer like Matthew Stafford on your team does. And obviously having Sam Darnold, someone that has completely turned his career around. Who would have thought if I said a few years ago that Sam Darnold is going to be the first quarterback from the 2018 draft to lead his team to a Super Bowl, and he did lead his team to a Super Bowl. This isn't a
No, no.
Gannon in
Wasn't
the
like the defense
Buccaneers.
carried him in this game.
Yeah,
Not
yeah. This
at
is a
all.
guy that played a massive part in it.
Mm.
And Jets fans can say they can sit there and say, we did all this, we moved on from him. They can be annoyed. Panthers fans can sit there and say we did this, we can be annoyed. I think if anyone's going to be the most
Vikings
annoyed,
fans should be
you're
the
a
ones that are
Vikings
the
fan and you're sat
most.
there and you got a team that was ready to compete for a Super Bowl. When you got that good of an offense, you got that good of a head coach. To me, there's nothing more valuable than head coach quarterback pairing in the NFL. They had that with KOC and Darnold, and they got rid of him because they had that much faith in nine. So sorry, Vikings fans. I know your pain, as obviously Vikings fans have been through a lot, and as a Browns fan, I know that. But
It was
yeah,
just
that's it.
mad that they moved on from him after they were like, oh, he had that terrible performance against the Rams. It's like, well, the Vikings didn't have any interior offensive line, right?
Which and yeah, and you, I'm glad you brought that up, Sam. What did I call you, Sam? That's Sam Darnold. I'm glad you brought that up, Tom, because Sam, it's such a cool story for Sam. Anyone that
Mm.
is, an NFL fan can appreciate this, unless you are, as I said, a Vikings fan, you'd be annoyed. But everyone else can be like, this is a guy that has turned his career around. We're so happy for him from that perspective. And then, as you said, against this same team last year. He had that
Mm.
great season last year in the regular season. Everyone was like, oh, wow, this is maybe, he's turned his season around. Had that performance against this team that then his own team that had him didn't believe in him to bring him back. He went to, don't get me wrong, he earned himself a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but went to the Seahawks and then, beats that same team again with a great
Mm.
performance. Full circle moment for Sam Darnold. As someone that, 2018 draft was the first draft where I fully immersed myself in quarterback prospects and got involved in these guys. And obviously, I did a lot of stuff on Sam Darnold, and I'm just really happy for Sam Darnold, and shout out to Sam Darnold, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And what was interesting in this game is that it feels like through, especially the second half of the season, that the defense has carried in quite a lot of games, and the offense has kind of done what it's needed to do, right? Whereas it felt like the opposite in this game. It was the offense that was carrying the load because there was a point in this game where you could just see that the Rams have figured out what the Seahawks were doing on defense. They started
Yeah,
to dice them up. And it had to be on Sam Darnold to lead them in this game.
Yeah.
And he did that, he did that with
And
aplomb. He took sacks when they were good sacks, don't throw the ball and turn it over, take a sack and live to fight another down. And he did that. And Jackson Smith and Jigba had
yeah,
a
I was gonna
monster
say, yeah.
performance, 10 receptions from, 12
Like
targets,
best
153 yards, touchdown. Like he was just ridiculous.
best wide receiver in the league. I think
Yeah,
he owns that mantle right now. I
I think
think going
so.
into next season, I don't think we all know how good Jamar Chase is. We all know how good. Um, I forgot his name earlier. What's his name? The
Justin
Vikings.
Jefferson.
There we go,
Justin
Justin
Jefferson.
Jefferson. We all know how good these guys are, but I don't think there's any wide receiver better in the NFL right now than Jackson Smith and Jid. But he is just so good. And like as an Ohio State fan, the reason I was so high on him, you didn't even need to watch the tape. You didn't even need to watch any. You didn't need to watch the Rose Bowl performance where he went for like 300 yards, whatever it was. You just had to listen to Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave say, "Oh no, that guy, yeah, he's way better than us."
Mm,
And you saw what those guys did in the NFL, and
yeah.
those two are going, no, 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 he's way better than us. Like he was younger than us at Ohio State, and he was the number one. Like he's better than us, and I think he's proved that, and he is so good. This Seahawks team is so good. They're going to be good for I always say no years. You can never. Every year's a new year. You can never guarantee you're going to be back. But having Sam Darnold playing this kind of level of football, Jackson Smith in Jigba, the head coach that they have. I think they have a very, very good chance of being back. And same applies to the Rams. I mean, don't get me wrong, Matthew Stafford's obviously getting older, but Sean McVay is that good that when you put him with a quarterback like Stafford, he's gonna be in this spot every year.
Yeah, and Jackson Smith and Jigba in this game, JSN, I mean, in the first quarter, you just knew he was going to have a monster game when he caught that one-handed catch. And then he catches the touchdown from Sam Darnold as well. But his routes were just nasty in this game, especially the one late in the fourth quarter. They need a big play. He just cooks his man. Like it's an absolutely beautiful route. He turns him around. He gets the ball. They get another first down. They're able to kind of drain the clock. But I think one of the big points in this game is when the Seahawks go up 24-13. It's 11-point lead. Looks like the game might get away from the Rams. And then just some stupidity from, the Seahawks defender, Reek Wallen. Um, he, well, he breaks up the play, but then he also taunts the sideline. Don't get me on the taunting. I think taunting should be allowed, but, if it's against the rules and they call it, they call it. So anyway, they called it on him. It then gives the Rams a fresh set of downs on the ensuing play. Great play from Matt Stafford in the bucket to Puka Nacua on Reek Wallen as well, who gets burnt on that play. So a terrible
Yeah,
sequence for Reek Wallen.
he got called out by his boys on the sideline. I don't know if you
Oh
saw the
yeah,
clip. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, rightly so as well, because that gave the Rams an avenue back into the game as well. So that made it what 24-17, I believe it's the no, no 24. Was it 24? No, was it 27? Oh, I can't remember. But either way, it brought them back in the game. Then the Seahawks needed to respond, and they did. A great drive again by Sam Darnold, driving them down the field for a touchdown to Jake Bobo, of all people, which was amazing because I think it was only his like seventh catch of the year or something like that, for him to make a massive play for them there. Um, but it was, and as you said, Ollie, it was just a great back and forth game. Matt Stafford out of his skull in this game, 373 yards, three touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 356 passing yards, three touchdowns as well. And one guy I do really feel sorry for at the end of this game is Davante Adams, because this is the fifth time that he's been in the NFC Championship
yeah, yeah.
and he's 0-5. Which was I felt sorry for him for that. But another thing with Sean McVay as well, I did feel towards the end of this game that he got in a bit over his skis in certain things, like right towards the end of the game, in the last like 2-3 minutes or so. He burned a timeout. He just seemed a little bit. It's the
It,
first time where I've ever seen Sean McVay a bit rattled on the sideline.
it's the one criticism I have with McVay is that
Mm,
like he's so innovative and he's so his offense is transformative of what he's done in the NFL. But there's times where it almost feels like he forgets that, and like he forgets who he is, and he like kind of panics and resorts to like this, kind of what he was taught by the 50-year-old 15 years ago, and makes decisions that you're kind of like, wait, what? You're meant to be the young guy that doesn't do that, and you're meant to be the one that's meant to make, the more kind of modern approach. And sometimes I do think he falls into that. But no, I mean, one of the best offensive minds, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year, going up against the best defense in the NFL, one of the best defensive minds. Obviously, Sean McVay massively, massively helped out by the Nets Cleveland Browns head coach Nathan Shieldhouse, obviously drawing his plays, being the play designer
Definitely
for the
wasn't helped
Browns
out by
this.
Chris Shula, I'll tell you that.
I was, and a lot of people were shocked with Chris Shula not getting more buzz in this head coaching cycle, and his defense has been getting cooked in the playoffs, so maybe that's
Mm,
why. But
mm.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave in a second, but I just wanted to make sure I got it on camera. I do
Yeah.
say that hopefully the next Cleveland Browns head coach, Nathan Shieldhouse, obviously had a great part in that
And
offense
what
for the
one more
Browns.
thing
Yeah.
before you go, Ollie. What did you think of
I just,
Clint Kubiak's performance?
sorry, I've got something in the oven and it's about to burn. But
Well, while he does that real quick,
Yeah.
all I'm just going to say what I was really impressed. Obviously, you two have mentioned all these things already, but combined together, Stafford and Darnold, 47 of 71, 720 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, 127.67 passer rating. And when I say to put them together, it's because one, it's still those are great stats, but also they both got pretty much a very, very, very similar stat line anyway. Both of them threw 3 touchdowns, both of them threw roughly about the same amount of yards and had a similar completion percentage. Both of them were fantastic. And I think just the one thing I did want to mention in terms of that was I pulled on Sam Darnold last year when they played the Lions in week 17, and it was that game of one of these is going to be the number one seed, one of these is going to be the number five seed, and one of them's going to take the division. And then they performed in the playoffs, and I said I just don't necessarily think Sam Darnold has the bottle for those bigger games and for those bigger moments the way his opponents have been. And I will come on and say how bloody wrong I have been. He's done it already in the exact same situation in week 18. He's done it already last week in the divisional round, and he did it on the biggest stage of his entire career. I was wrong. Sam Darnold can do it in those big moments, and he's got the perfect team around him and the right setup to allow him to thrive and do that. And he's got this season's Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm not obviously not pointing out that like last season he had Justin Jefferson as well though. But
Mm.
like it's really, really good to see. And I was watching a clip before of Sam Darnold do that interview where I can't remember who it was, off the top of my head, but like, oh, I've got my draft notes about you here.
Yeah, yeah.
Too many fumbles, too many interceptions, too many this,
It
tries
was
to
Mars
pass the ball
Garrett,
too
not Mars
much.
Garrett. It was Thingy
Um,
Garrett, Jason Garrett doing
that's
the
it, that's
thing.
the one,
Yeah,
Jason
yeah,
Garrett.
yeah, yeah.
And he's like, but here's my end note. You get back up after every single play and pretend it never happened. You just get back
Mm.
to it, goldfish, all that sort of stuff. Um, he's been through a lot of crap in his NFL career as well. He had his
Mm.
time with the Jets. Obviously, he had the disappointing end to last season with the Vikings. All he's ever done throughout his career is have a bit of a crap time, but get
Yeah.
back up and go again. A lot of other
Mm.
quarterbacks I think would have given up by now or just taken a role as a backup. He fought, he kept fighting, kept going, and I do want to just give a lot of love um to Sam Darnold for that. I
Yeah,
think he
no, that's
deserves it.
really, but Ollie, because I know obviously you got to go, but I just wanted to ask because obviously Clint Kubiak just put on a masterstroke of a game against that defense. Like, what do you think he did? Because JSN just seemed to get open on like every play.
Yeah, that one, the touchdown with JSN out the backfield was definitely Clint Kubiak in his bag. I mean, don't get me wrong, the only reason why I was just hesitant on him for the Browns is because he just comes from the same coaching tree as Kevin Stefanski, and if you try to obviously move on from that, it doesn't make too much sense. But bringing someone in from the same coach. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Raiders, Bills are probably waiting on him now. I think there's probably going to be a couple of teams that won't make their head coach hire for the next week or so because they're probably trying to get him in the building. We all heard how highly Tom Brady was talking about him
Hmm.
on the broadcast, and obviously Tom Brady, even though he's allowed to be in these meetings, actually owns a team.
Yeah.
So obviously, and that team is currently looking for a head coach. So I wouldn't be surprised if Clint Kubiak is the next coach of your Las Vegas Raiders. Everyone listening, but
Mm.
Yeah,
no, yeah, he was in his bag in this game, has been in his bag this season, and obviously we'll see how he does as a head coach, which I expect him to become. But yeah, I got a chip,
yeah.
guys.
Yep.
No
Everyone
worries.
listening, enjoy this. Well, not enjoy the Super Bowl. I'll speak to you before the Super Bowl, but I hope everyone had a great game, and hopefully Nathan Shearhouse is the next coach of your Cleveland Browns.
See you in a bit. So I think we'll start wrapping it up anyway. We
Well,
go
I
what
was going to say just a couple more things on this game because obviously
yeah,
the one of the big moments towards the end of the game as well. The Rams driving down the field, they're trailing by 4 at this point. They get all the way down to the Seahawks 6 yard line. Looks like they're going to go for the go-ahead touchdown. And then, they get stopped on 4 straight downs. Two great plays by Devin Witherspoon as well, who's, really exciting young young corner for the Seahawks. Uh, and and then I was messaging my Seahawks mate again about that and saying there's a reason why Reek Wallen lost his starting job to Devin
yeah,
Witherspoon, and it's because of plays like that. Especially that 4th down, making that stop, getting the ball out. Um, and the next thing you know, the Seahawks get the ball, and Cooper Kupp, of all people, with the game on the line, able to stretch across, get the 1st down, and they're able to run out the clock from there. So just
yeah.
yeah, an incredible win for the Seahawks, and hopefully they can just go one more game further and win it all.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull a couple. I'm just gonna pull two stats, and that's all I
Yeah.
want to do now. I speak a lot. We'll speak a lot on the preview show, and I speak quite a bit on the college football show about it. There are certain stats that always seem to. You have your outliers, but they always seem to align with who won the game, right? And however these fare. Number one's time of possession. Now, this one can genuinely vary. It's probably the
Mm.
least predictable out of the lot. Seahawks had time of possession, but only 31-50 to 28-10. The ones I talk about though the most, I always like looking at who was the best on 3rd down,
Mm.
then who was the best on 4th down, but 3rd down always means more than 4th down.
Yeah.
Um, the Seahawks were 7 and 13 on 3rd down. Decent, above 50% tends to be like it's a very, very good day at the office for an NFL team. The Rams were 1 of 8 on 3rd down, right?
Mm.
That always speaks volumes when two teams have miles different success. And then again, this one turnover for the Rams to 0 turnovers for the Seahawks. Now, again, that's a small margin. It never makes too much of a difference, but it makes somewhat of a difference, right? And then the penalties are always a big indicator. Seahawks had 6 for 50 yards. Rams had 4 for 30 yards. So that was the only one that didn't go in the favor of the game. But when you couple massively better success on 3rd down, slightly controlled the ball and the clock better, and you think the Rams were allowed to kind of you never do this to Stafford, right? You just oh,
Mm.
actually no, actually that's I'm looking at the very, very wrong thing there. Um, I know they gave the ball 25 seconds to go. Sorry,
Yeah.
25 seconds.
Yeah.
And look, if any quarterback's gonna somehow burn you with 25 seconds and no timeouts, it's got to be Matthew Stafford, right? I've been there a million times on the better side of that. But they seem to control the ball. And even with the Rams getting
Mm.
some time left at the end, they controlled the ball that little bit better. And you look at the fact that they won the turnover battle, they won the 3rd down battle, and they won the time of possession, and that almost always translates into winning
And
games.
once again, the thing that plagued the Rams all season came back to bite them. The special teams, they've been atrocious all season. And in the biggest game of their season, Xavier Smith fumbles the ball, the Seahawks get the ball, and then score a touchdown from that possession.
Yeah,
So that was a crucial part of the game as well.
yeah. So sadly, I'm gonna have to tell Carl that I'm not booking a Super Bowl party event thing at the last minute. However, I've had it in my mind, and I'll say it on record and all that sort of stuff. I don't care. Hopefully next year I want to try and do something with you all. Um, I don't like the thought of any of our teams being involved in a Super Bowl and us getting
Mm,
together, just because the emotion of the day, one of us is going to be out of it and not too invested, but appropriately invested, but not for that maybe
mm.
that place maybe. I'd love to get something like that going, and it's something I want to work on. The off season potentially doing an event like that. Um, but obviously, I want to give one big shout out to obviously congratulations to Carl and the Patriots Touchback, a part of the Sleep at Work network. You're in the Super Bowl. Congratulations. Look, as Ollie said before, we can correctly tell you about how piss easy your schedule's been, how you've faced a bunch of nobodies, and how basically you've not had to play an offense or playoffs. We've
How
said,
about you're about to get bludgeoned by the Seattle Seahawks, all that
yes.
sort of stuff. So,
Um, But no, I say it kind of in jest.
mm.
Is obviously there's method to that mad. There's reason we say those things. It's not because it. But at the end of the day, who gives a crap? Would I give two craps if my team was in the playoffs? Sorry, even in the
No,
playoffs this year? No. Would I? The
I
amount of
wouldn't.
people, Tom, who've come
No.
up to you over the years and
Mm.
said Chiefs don't deserve the super be in the
Oh
Super
yeah,
Bowl
it's all
because of
refs this,
this or
refs
because
that. If we're winning Super Bowls, I don't care. So yeah,
exactly. You're in
yeah,
the Super
yeah,
Bowl. Who gives two craps, man? Keep feeding the hate, man. I'll take it. You can
yeah,
feed
yeah.
you feed me hate while my team's
It
in a
just
Super
it keeps
Bowl.
me motivated. Just keep it
Yeah.
coming.
So, like congratulations to them. Commiserations to Sam. Obviously, we'll be speaking to him next Thursday. Um, we probably do. We'll see what we do between these next 2 weeks. But we'll have Sam on, so Sam will get his chance to talk about the game. But also, like, it's commiserations, man, because again, I've been in that position of losing an NFC championship game. It hurts. Like you really, really want to go to the Super Bowl. It hurts. So commiserations, but congratulations at the same time. So warning anyone now, someone may be insufferable next week on the preview show. Yes, I'm looking at you, Carl. Don't care that I'm saying it out loud. Um, I'm only winding you up, but like next week should be a bit of a fun one. We have someone on, and it's a throwback to one of the better Super Bowls, man. Again, first Super Bowl I ever watched was the Ravens Niners. Turned it off at halftime and said, "How does anyone watch this sport? It's the worst sport on the planet." A year later, tried to give a bit of the Seahawks Broncos a go. Started to kind of watch some bits of it and thought it was crap still and wasn't worth it. At least wasn't worth staying up my whole night for. And then I watched that Super Bowl a year later, and mate, I got hooked. And I always say like did when we first met and did like what kind of ended up being the catalyst for the network, I said there's always like a moment. There's a moment where I think you turn around and you go from okay at this thing's good to
Mm,
oh geez, like I love this thing. And for me it was that Malcolm Butler interception. And
mm.
sat there in my mum and dad's house at 3 in the morning going, what are you doing? And at that point you kind of realise, okay, I'm a little bit more into this than I thought. So
Yeah,
um, just what I on a personal note, this game's like it's a serious callback, and sometimes you get one of those. I'm happy that it's the matchup that it is for that reason as well.
yeah. No, that is that's always nice for sure.
Um, yeah, so we're gonna finish it up here. I mean, that's the best place to leave it. We've got both the games sorted. Appreciate you, Tom, for joining. You're here anyway. For your candor, and to Ollie as well. You've been always when I have to fill in we have to fill in for Chapman. It's always great to have you two to steady the ship. Quick one, I would say mention the links down in the description. We want people in on the network this year. If you want to be part of the network, join us on some of these podcasts, do some other bits with us. You can hit the links in the description as well. There are new ways you can do that. We've built a whole new system here at AEW, and it's hopefully going to turn into some nice special things. We'd love to have you. And finally, if you want to make a couple of quid on the Super Bowl, right? I'm not going to suggest normal betting. I'm not even going to suggest your fantasy football's over. You need to scratch that itch a little bit, then head over to our partners at Fantasy Game Day. They will have Super Bowl games up. I do believe I have seen, I have heard they will have Super Bowl games up. If not, get yourself ready for next season. Head over to the app, sign up, use code HRDLE. That is hurdle without the U.
Because there's no huddle line without you.
Beautiful. It was just natural instinct from you there, Tom. It was the best bit about it. Yeah, use code HRDLE and you can get £7.50 in free plays. Once you deposit and play for the first time, we get a little bit of a kickback, and it just says that you appreciate what we're doing here at the network and that you want to see more of Tom. So vote with your £7.50 free plays to see more Tom. So with that, thank you very much. We will see you. Check the socials for when we will probably see you next, and hurdle that Darnold.